So, from one problem to another, one of the things I also said that Rishi Sunak should have spoken about yesterday, and I did give him the advice before he even made the speech, was to look into the massive problem of crime on our streets. And it's not just violent crime, it's not just theft, it's not just robbery, it's also an incredible spate of shoplifting. Because this week, the policing minister, Chris Philp, told us that we should tackle shoplifters ourselves. Well, these guys actually are. As you can see, these are members of TM Eye, a group of private prosecutors fighting crime across the capital. By coincidence, this lot happened to be on a lunch break at a training day in Essex when they spotted some shoplifters in a car park. They immediately jumped on the case. So a bit of a surprise and a bit of a shock for the would-be thieves, because they were put in no doubt at all as to what was likely to happen to them. And I'm now joined by the managing director of that private security group, TMI, David McKelvey. David, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning, Mike.
I mean, I was really surprised yesterday watching Rishi Sunak that, you know, the three most important things he found to talk about were HS2, fair enough, get that. You know, then the sort of the solving of the migrants problem. He's gone off to have a meeting about that with some other European leaders today. But I would have thought the third thing should have been crime, particularly crime that's taking place on our streets at the moment, because it really does affect the quality of people's lives. I myself have bored everybody to death this week because I witnessed some security guys at my local shopping centre, you know, basically holding a guy and beating him up a bit who was trying to shoplift from the nearby supermarket. I mean, it's happening on a daily basis now, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely. It's chaos, absolute chaos.
And I mean, as far as your organisation is concerned, I mean, that was quite sort of fortunate for you, not so fortunate for the would-be shoplifters that you happened to be there. But presumably not every supermarket, not every shop has got the capability to hire people like you.
No, I mean, we weren't meant to be there. We wasn't there for that reason. It literally was a training day and the chaps were doing handcuff training, which was very fortunate.
Yeah. Well, it's nothing like a bit of practical handcuff training, is it?
Exactly. But, you know, as you were probably seeing from the video, these were two very violent shoplifters, or three, one got away. You know, if we hadn't have been in a position to have enough people there and or handcuffs to detain them, the police took 25, 30 minutes to get there. You know, you're fighting with these individuals. It's, you know, arresting people is there's no secret to it. It's, you know, it's a massive use of force. And you've got to detain those people. You know, we were very lucky that we had the tools and the experience to deal with it there and then. But it's, you know, that Wolverhampton Abbey is not an area that we police. We do police other areas of London and suburbs. Yeah. And we deal with shoplifters day in, day out, and we prosecute them in the criminal courts. What we have done that proves what we do works is that we just enforce the law. We catch them, we put them before the courts, we convict them. And in every single area that we operate, there has been significant crime reductions.
Yes. Because, I mean, I was talking to, because I go back to my local shopping centre, I think I went back the day after. The situation I witnessed was this guy basically had got literally just an armful of stuff. I walked in, it was the middle of the afternoon, there were three security guards sort of grappling with him. He was trying to punch them, he was trying to kick them. At one point he sort of escaped, and then one of them managed to trip him up. And they basically, the end result was that they managed to get all the stuff back off him, and he just ran out. But I was talking to my dry cleaner guy who's there, and he said before the scuffle happened, he was just standing there shouting at them that they couldn't stop him, that there was nothing they could do. So he knew that. And then my guy said, well, the good news is at least he might tell his friends, don't go back to that particular shopping centre because the security guards are a bit tasty.
Yeah. And that's exactly the problem. The problem that we see literally every single day is most of the big retailers have this non-intervention policy, which means they tell their staff and their security they must not get involved. And as a result of that, you then get this double whammy that the shoplifters all know they can go into stores and shoplift and there will be no outcome. They know the police will take far too long to arrive. And so you've got this situation now where effectively it's almost lawless. They also know that you've got this £200 limit where they can shoplift up to that. There's little chance of them ever getting prosecuted, arrested for anything under £200. So you've got this real issue around low-level, I say low-level crime. It's not most of it. Probably 90% of it is actually organised crime.
And that's the thing. I presume they're robbing shops in order to sell the stuff on, not because they actually want it for themselves. But Chris Philp shocked everybody this week, didn't he, the Justice Minister? When he came out and basically said, you know, you should basically join in, you should do your duty, and you should kind of detain these characters. I think that's bad advice, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the bottom line around that is members of the public are not trained. They are not going to be carrying handcuffs. The police are not going to turn up quickly. You are going to end up getting hurt. People carry knives. And the other thing around it, if the retailers aren't prepared to protect their own cans of beans, why should members of the public step forward and do so for them? The issue here is you're putting yourself at real risk, and you should not be getting involved unless you've got that training. All of our people are very highly trained. Even highly trained people will get hurt. So it's not worth putting yourself forward and taking that risk.
Yeah, I mean, the problem, I suppose, for a lot of people is that there's an instinct that sometimes kicks in. I mean, if I saw somebody nicking a handbag off an old lady and running towards me, I'd be tempted to stop them. I'd be tempted to trip them up. I'd be tempted to do something. I would feel bad if I just let them run past me.
Yeah, well, we had that last night. We literally, a couple of our bobbies, we have a uniform branch, and a couple of our bobbies caught literally that. They chased the man who'd stolen a lady's bag last night. And also, we found property on him from a number of shoplifting cases.
Right.
But they waited something in the region of 40, 50 minutes for the police to turn up. And when the police turned up, they released them. So you've got this horrible situation where there is no enforcement of the law. You're putting them before the courts, and they don't get very long sentences either. There's a real breakdown in social justice as such.
Yeah, I mean, I'm told that most of the police actually aren't out on the beat at all. 95% of them sit in an office all day doing whatever it is that they're supposed to be doing, filling out forms. I don't know if that's right or if that's your experience. But they certainly seemed able to find enough people to go around Lawrence Fox's house yesterday and arrest him. Eh?
Don't know about that, but I mean, it does depend. I mean, we work very closely with the police in certain areas, and I've got to tell you, they're absolutely fantastic. But the one thing they do say to us is they don't want to be dragged off the streets to deal with a £100 shoplifter for 16 hours that will then take them away from dealing with knife crime, robberies, etc. And so there's a big issue. There's not the resources there. If you were to try and deal with the shoplifting problem, there would be no police officers on the streets at all, because it is so vast.
I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? And so, I mean, given what you do for a living and given what your organisation does, what is the answer? I mean, how? Because obviously people can't, not everybody can afford probably to employ your services. So what is the answer? How is this something that you see as just a sort of a bump in the road, this shoplifting epidemic? Will it pass? Will it become less sort of fashionable at some point? Or what do we need to do?
No, I think it's going to get worse. The only way forward, the only way to deal with this situation is to enforce the law. When you enforce the law, you put these people before the courts and the courts deal with them. You do see a huge impact on that. Some of the areas we work in, within 2 months, they were completely lawless. You go in, you're catching 10, 20 shoplifters a week, you're putting them through the courts, and you see a huge change in those areas. Retail crime is dramatically reduced.
Yeah.
It's just about enforcing the law. They need to invest more money in the courts. They need to have overnight courts. They do need to put officers back on the streets, and also there needs to be a change in how the police deal with shoplifters. At the moment they will arrest them, take them to the police station, deal with them. They don't need to. They could do what we do. We simply gather the evidence, we summons them, and they appear at court. It would, it's far less time taken.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose if you're a shoplifter or you're a new shoplifter, you just take your chances. There's a pretty good chance, is there not, in most cases, if you go into a shop and run out with something, that nobody's even going to stop you.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, as I said, there's non-intervention policies in most of the big retail stores. And as I say, and also, that's another reason why the police don't attend, because if they do attend, they get told, we're not going to prosecute this case. The retailers won't share the CCTV, won't make witness statements. As a result of that, nothing's going to happen. Right. So this is a problem that the retailers have to deal with first and foremost before they start complaining to the police. Right.
So what would your message to Chris Philp be then, if you were able to give him one?
It would be a lovely scenario if you could get involved and do that. But it's not worth taking the risk. It really isn't. Only within the last year, I helped a chap out in a road rage incident, and a chap pulled out a zombie knife on me. It happens, and you just can't take that risk.
No. And I mean, how did you deal with that then?
I phoned the police, who then told me to come to the police station and report it.
Really?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Listen, great to talk to you. Thank you very much. David McKelvey, there, CEO of TM Eye, which is an organisation which helps retailers actually fight off these shoplifters and make sure that if they do have any kind of run-ins with them, that they won't actually come back.